Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and you know that not only do I enjoy interviewing incredible entrepreneurs, but it's always such a bonus when it's a business that gets me so excited because it's doing so much good in the world. And that is why I'm particularly excited about today's episode, because not only are we joined by an incredible entrepreneur, an incredible founder, but somebody who is at the forefront of cutting edge technology when it comes to how AI is positively shaping education, positively shaping the youth in the world, and especially as the son of an immigrant mom, this episode gets me especially excited because it pertains to bilingual kids and how we can use language to actually accelerate our learnings and give our brains those superpowers. So let me introduce you to today's guest. Her name is Anissa Bouderraoui. Anissa is the founder and CEO of Lingo Circle, which is a bilingual education platform that combines live group classes, yes, that human element is still retained, with AI-powered games to help children build confidence in their second language. A multilingual mom of 3 raising bilingual kids herself, Anissa brings both personal passion and professional expertise to reimagining how families around the world approach language learning. Based in New York, she's also an advocate for the future of education and global competencies, and I'm so excited for all of us to learn from her because from a business perspective, you're going to love all her insights. She operates in both the B2C space, the B2B space. There's so much good stuff that she's navigating, so I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Anissa Bouderraoui. All right, Anissa, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian, for having me.
Heck yes, I'm personally very excited to learn not only about your business, but also about your backstory. So let's start there. Take us beyond the bio. Who is Anissa? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
So I'm going to make it short, right? So I was born in France, and I'm the second of a 7 kids family, so a big family. And I moved to the US 15 years ago. I've always been immersed in many languages, so from my parents' background and from languages in France, where you learn languages very early on. But I started as a financial executive, so I was working in finance and accounting, where I moved to the US and worked in the corporate ladder, where I held position as a CFO. But when I actually became a mom in the US of my first kid, I have 3, as you mentioned. That's when I realized how important it was for me to maintain the culture and the language with my child, and that's where I decided to venture into this project that is Lingo Circle, to help families like me raise bilingual kids.
Yes, I love that overview, especially because, Anissa, I'll tell you this, that in my family, anytime my mom makes a mistake with her English, she says to all of us kids, when you speak 5 languages, then you can come and talk to me. And so it's given all of us such an appreciation for the fact that your brain is wired in a different way when you know multiple languages, let alone, like my mom knows 5 languages, for example. When you know all of those, it gives you a different perspective, not only culturally, but also just cognitively. And you understand this better than most. So I want you to take us behind the scenes and talk about why that's so important for people who have been raised in families that are multilingual, or for people who maybe haven't, Anissa. They probably don't understand the powers of leaning into this from such a young age. I saw a video where you talked about the golden age of where you can teach multiple languages. Talk to us about that importance.
Yeah, definitely, and you nailed it. It's cognitive. I think that the science have shown that kids that learn multiple languages at an early age have definitely a different brain power, right? It's trained differently, so they have better ability to problem solve, better empathy, and there's so many advantages to actually teaching a second language early on, and I'm seeing it myself, having been raised that way with so many languages and with my kids, where you definitely see the benefits of speaking multiple languages, and that's definitely something I recommend. And yes, I've mentioned the golden window, and we know that between zero, actually, because you can start speaking a different language to your kids as soon as they're little, until 7 is actually the best period for a child to learn a second language and to actually be completely bilingual, in the sense that they won't have an accent and they will really trigger the languages, both languages in their brain simultaneously. And yeah, that's definitely something that you can still acquire after 8 years old, but the structure will be, the learning curve will be a little bit different.
Yeah, I want to talk about that structure then, because it's really cool hearing your personal perspectives and experiences, because I mean, you're speaking from firsthand experience here, and I know that structure and those perspectives and experiences, of course, that's factored into the way that you've been building Lingo Circle. So talk to us about that. I'm a big tech junkie. I love when technology is applied in really cool ways, but what I really appreciate about your approach is it's technology meets that human element. So talk to us about Lingo Circle's format.
Definitely. So I started Lingo Circle with the idea that I want kids to be able to have access to learning languages no matter where they are. And living in New York, I myself personally didn't have access to a bilingual school or an immersion program. So how can we get this accessible to people that don't have that nearby, right? Not every school have the teacher staff and have the opportunity to be a bilingual school. So I launched Lingo Circle with the idea to create this structure where kids could learn a language with an actual teacher that is trained, and we built a curriculum. We started with French, which is my native language, right? And the idea was to build a curriculum of exactly what a kid would learn if they were in a bilingual school, and give them the social element as well. So we started with basically reproducing what you would have in a classroom but online. And I tested it firsthand with my son, who was 5 years old at the time, 4 to 5, and I started with this first classroom where I gathered kids that had the same background, so they were either speaking French at home or understanding it at least because their parents were living in the US and French, or a mixed couple with an American mom and a French dad, or vice versa. And I created this structure where there were 3 kids online and with our teacher and with our program. So we had a really defined format of how the class is going, for it to be engaging to the kids, for them to have fun, with really a specific directive for the teachers where they have to speak to each student. They have to make sure everyone interacts and everyone has an opportunity to speak. So nothing like a classroom where you have 15 students. Really, we wanted something that could give them the opportunity to socialize and also have the same benefits of an individual class where they have the opportunity to speak and learn. And I saw firsthand how my child was excited to actually learn French, because he would see other kids his age participating. So then he's like, okay, I'm not the only one speaking that language, and that's fun. And I see other kids speaking this language that my mom really wants me to learn. There's also this emulation that you get with kids when they see each other learning and doing things and playing games, and that's when I knew that this format was working. And my first son is completely bilingual, and I've been doing this with him since he was 4, as I said, 4 years old. So that's when I saw that there was a huge opportunity, and then we started having classes with students from all around the US. So you would have students in Los Angeles, students in New York and in Chicago, and they would just share where they live, and it was just really like a magical moment where I see that they could not only learn the language but socialize with kids that shared the same background and the same language. We implemented a lot of cultural aspect as well, where they were not just learning the language itself, but also learning about the culture, about France, and so on. And then we started expanding to other languages. We had requests for Spanish. We are also helping families that want to teach Mandarin to their kids and so on. So we started expanding in the language format. And with the era of AI, I saw an opportunity to actually create a more personalized learning, right? Because we have our format that is an online class where parents have to log in every week and so on. And we wanted to be able to offer something that is asynchronous and that they could play with outside of the live classes. So that's when we created the AI-powered games for kids to learn languages. And a lot of questions I get is, okay, but that's a Duolingo. But the thing is that we're not Duolingo because the content we're creating is geared toward children, right? So you can't expect to have a one-size-fits-all content when you're actually working with children. It has to be engaging to them. It has to speak to them. So that's what we're building. So for that game, which we really just launched recently, the idea is to give them personalized learning. So which level you start with, and AI helps with that, you're able to get a game that gives you more difficulties or less difficulties and adapt to your level.
Yeah, it's so cool hearing you talk about these things in real time, because I just want to call two things out, really. The first that I really hear when you share these insights with us is that part of your superpower as a founder is that you are your ideal customer. You are a mom of 3 yourself. And so even when you were talking about the online courses with the teacher network that you've built out, you see your own children go through this and you learn from their own experiences. And I think that's so cool how much that's influenced and shaped your actual business strategy as well. And then the second thing that I really want to call out is I feel like we live in a society, and I got into this with your personal friend, Lucy Tomei, who is an incredible founder as well with her own company with regards to babies' nutrition. And what I find so fascinating about both of you as founders, and again, you're both moms, and I think that's part of your superpower, but what I really appreciate is that in today's society, we are just inundated with so much conflicting advice. And we hear things about, for example, some of the things I'll call out is, oh, you're going to confuse a kid if you talk in multiple languages to them when they're too young. Or some people will say, oh, you need to keep them away from technology. But Anissa, it just seems to me like you embrace, hey, let's take the positive attributes of all the different things that we have at our fingertips here in 2025, and let's use them exactly as that, as positives. What's your response to parents who have those sort of fear-based qualms, who might think, oh, it's too young to be doing this with my kid? How do you address those things? Because again, I'm sure part of it is that you're a mom yourself, but how do you navigate that viewpoint of the world and society's narrative?
And I think it's exactly how you said it. So we really need to find a balance between the use of technology and wanting our kids to be out of it, right? And I think we're in an era where technology is here. Technology is not going anywhere, right? We still want our kids to be able to connect with nature, to play outside, and to do all these things. But they're kids, and they see everyone using technology. They will want to use it. So my viewpoint here is, if I'm using technology, I'm going to use it from an educational standpoint, right? I'm going to use it to help them learn. I'm going to use what they love with technology, the gamification, the engaging part of it, for them to actually learn things. It's going to be limited, of course, in terms of how many hours they can play a day or a week, and it's going to be balanced with a lot of outdoor activity, with a lot of sports, and making sure that they read books and so on. So I think it's all about a balance, and I definitely understand the concerns, because kids can definitely get caught up with iPads and for teenagers, phones and so on. So I would definitely delay social media and delay those as much as possible. I'm not there yet because my kids are in the younger age. So I have an 8 years old, 5 years old, and a 3 years old. So we're still not on that social media era for them, or phone era. But definitely finding a balance where we can use technology to make our kids smarter, and to have them understand how it works and understand what they can get out of it, but also keep it as minimal throughout the day, for them to not be completely caught up. in it.
Yes, so well said. And I want to pick on that balance a little bit, because one thing that I also really admire about you personally and the business that you've built is your ability to execute. Because I would imagine that you have so many different ideas into how you want to serve multilingual families, because you're tackling a big societal opportunity in the fact that we can help to shape young minds. And I would actually argue, in an age with AI, it's these multicultural considerations and experiences are going to become even more important in a world where AI is dominating education. And so with all of that in mind, I think it's so cool that you have the online teaching network, you have the online classes with humans, but you also have the AI side of it. And a lot of people will be tuning in thinking, Anissa, how did you do it all? And of course, you didn't do it all at once. So take us back to those building blocks, the step-by-step of the execution. When you plotted out LingoCircle, how did you make sure that you went from idea to actual execution?
Yeah. So, I come from a finance and accounting background, as I told you earlier. Although I've had foreign language learning, I have a bachelor in foreign languages. But my point here is that I was not an entrepreneur. I was aspiring to be an entrepreneur. So I really didn't know where to start. But when I had this project and this idea, I was so driven. So it was 5 years ago, right? So what I did is really just map out a plan of what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to get. And I basically just made it small steps. Right? So, okay, we need to build the technology, we need to build the platform, we need to test it with a few students and so on. And that's really how I made it. It was just like a Gantt chart, and I like to talk about it because that's really what I used, with milestone of where I wanted to get to actually launch the product. And then when you launch the product, you realize, and there was a lot of realizing, learning, and mistakes in the process, and that's how it is, especially when you're a first-time founder. So then when the product is launched, is okay, how do I actually bring the word out there? Okay, my product is launched, it's live. How do I get people to know about what I'm building, to know about what I'm doing? And that's where you get into the marketing and the sales part of things. But I have to say that there's no formula. There's just learning from your mistakes, or maybe surrounding yourself with people that have already been there, so that they can tell you the mistakes you shouldn't be making. And that's how you execute, and that's how I actually execute it. And as I go, it's just a constant learning about the entrepreneurial world, what you should do, technology, AI, sales, how to sell a product, because I think that as an entrepreneur, really, that's your main important key skill that you have to have, is really being able to sell your product yourself. And that's pretty much it, Brian. It's really about learning and trying.
Yeah, I want to echo that for our listeners. You said there is no formula, and I think that that's such an important insight that you're offering our audience here, because I feel like, especially when we're all newer entrepreneurs, which we've all been there, we're constantly looking for that secret. We think that there's that one thing that's going to unlock success for us, and really, you just spelled it out right there. It's literally, it's step by step, and it's figuring it out along the way. And I would argue, I'm 18 years into my entrepreneurial journey, I would argue that never ends. It's always just a never-ending quest of figuring things out. That said, I mean, clearly you do think strategically from your professional background, and just from the way that you do think in terms of finance, you do think in terms of strategy, and that leads me to something that I've been so excited for listeners to understand about your business model is you play in both the B2B and the B2C arenas. And I think it's so brilliant that you are more than happy to get straight in front of parents and say, hey, I'm one of you. I want to serve you and your children. I want to make this available to you, but also recognizing that more scalable B2B approach. How has that shaped your strategy and your go-to-market to this point?
So I definitely started as a B2C, Brian, and my idea was to help parents like me, which I still do. And then I just was approached by international schools who needed more support in their bilingual education program, and that's how I went into I ventured into the B2C to B2B, arena. So I think that for my structure, it's not something uncommon. First of all, it gives you more credibility when you're actually being used by schools as well. So it's not uncommon. Actually, what happened is that the support that a parent need to raise bilingual kids. I want it to be broadly available, not only for parents, but also for schools. And the idea is to make life easier for parents. If they have something that is accessible in schools, it's easier for them to raise their kids bilingual. And really it just ties back to the mission of helping parents raise bilingual kids and helping parents give them that skill. And if it's available in school, it's available to them as well. And if I can help a teacher, give a teacher the tools to help kids learn a second language, I think it just makes sense in terms of the synergies there. So that was the first thing. In terms of mission and in terms of helping parents, we're just tapping into another distribution area. And then how I did it in terms of execution, well, I think nowadays it's really all about using the platform that are out there to spread the word about what you're building. And it's going to be LinkedIn for B2B and all of the other social medias to reach to actual parents.
Yeah, it's so cool hearing the way that I've talked already about the fact that you're a mom shapes the way that you view your business, but I also think what's on full display today is how much your mission factors into that, because even when we're talking about these really strategic decisions, and many of them from a marketing perspective of B2B versus B2C, you just keep coming back to the fact that, well, my mission is to help families everywhere, and the way that I do that, I can go direct to them, or I can go to places where they already are, such as these international schools. And I think that's so cool how much you lean on the things that are deeply true to yourself. And that's why I want to turn the spotlight onto you for a second, because selfishly, I know how many emails we get from listeners where they convince themselves of, oh, I can't start a business right now because I have this job, or I can't start this business right now because I just had kids. Anissa, you are such a good real life example of someone who is a solo founder. You're a mother of 3 kids. You have a lot on your plate, and you are still growing an incredible business that's doing so much good in the world. How has balancing all of these hats that you wear factored into your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, that's sorry, I'm laughing because that's a question I definitely get often, and even from my friends. And I again, it comes down to doing it bit by bit, right? So I just structure my day in a way that I have dedicated times to each areas of my life, and I will set boundaries, right? I'm dedicated to my business and I love what I do, but when I'm with my kids, I'm trying to be present with them. So fortunately, they go to school, and when they're in school, I have a whole day to just dedicate myself to my venture, to my business venture. But then when I'm home and on weekend, I just really spend time with them and try to make it the most qualitative and be as present as possible. So I definitely just set boundaries here. And as much as I love what I'm building, I don't want to miss out on the time with my kids. So it's going to be probably less time with them than if I was a stay-at-home mom, right? But it's going to be a time where I'm present. It's going to be a time when I'm really with them and enjoying it. So that's just what it is.
I'm sure sometimes that's easier said than done, because I would imagine that your mind is always thinking of new ways to grow your business and things that you want to do. I want to talk to you about the team aspect of it, because obviously here in 2025, we all have so many resources at our fingertips. I mean, anyone can access AI models these days, which can basically serve as other team members on our businesses. What does behind the scenes look like for you as a solo founder? What are those resources that you're leaning on? What are some of the ways that you're using AI behind the scenes? Because obviously you are at the forefront of technology, not only product wise, but behind the scenes wise. What's all that look like in your workflows?
So I do still think I have a lot of learning to do in that area. I hear a lot about AI agents, and I haven't leaned into this yet. I think I use AI a lot for everything that is content writing and social media, for sure. That's really helpful. It's a key of my business for that area. Of course, we use it for the technology we're building, but I don't do that personally. I have a team building that, but it's really facilitating all of the communication and sales aspect of things. So this has been key to me right now. But again, still a lot of learning to do on that front. I'm trying to learn about the video and text to videos, areas of AI, and again, Ryan, it's always about trying to find time to learn a little bit more about what's available and what we should be using nowadays. And I think that the next thing I'm looking into is AI agents for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think so many of us, that's part of the fun of all of us being entrepreneurs together, is that we are figuring it out together. And I'm super appreciative of all of our guests behind the scenes. I'll give a little bit of a spoiler alert for listeners, is that we as a entrepreneur to entrepreneur community, we get together every single month and just have featured guests share all of their insights with all of us fellow entrepreneurs. And I'm convinced that that's the way that we can all learn, because there's way too much to learn out there. So it's really cool to hear the things that you're juggling behind the scenes. I want to squeeze two final questions in with you, because when I think about your career background, being in finance, being a CFO, having that lens through which you see the world of super intentional, super strategic, all of the steps that you take are very well thought out. What does that time look like when you look forward in your own business? Are you carving out intentional time to ask yourself those growth-oriented questions? Are you thinking about the future? How are you shaping that?
I think it's a very important question. It definitely plays a role in how I handle the strategy for the business. Absolutely. I've been, and I still am, a CFO where I actually look into numbers every day and work into budgets and forecasts and cash flow. So this is definitely something I do for Lingo Circle, and it reflects itself in what is the size of the market, what are my goals for year 1, year 2, year 5, how do we define the pricing, should we revise the pricing? So all of these questions, of course, and how do we expand? Okay, we're targeting the US market for now, and we should be focused on that, right? Because we need to make sure that our strategy is thought through and that we have really defined our ICP and our business model, and then how do we expand on a strategical standpoint. So that definitely comes into play, and that's really what I've been doing for the past 20 years. So it's really easy for me to actually do this for Lingo Circle, and that's just a lot of planning and strategy for the business and targets in terms of revenue.
Yeah, big questions that you just listed there. I'm glad that you say they come easily to you because of your professional career, but those questions don't come easy to so many founders. And so listeners, go back, re-listen to those questions, because it's a lot of big questions that we all need to think about for our own businesses. So I really appreciate those insights, and I'm excited to ask you this last question because it's the broadest question of them all. I'm so excited to see which direction you take it in, and that is, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys, and also knowing that you are one of us, you are a fellow founder and entrepreneur, what's that one piece of advice that you want to leave them with today?
I would say that just get started, because I know that you can, as someone that wants to be an entrepreneur, at least from that viewer standpoint, I've been in these shoes for a long time before I got started. I started later on my business, and there's just no age to get started, first of all, and I think you just need to get started and map out a plan of how to get to what you're trying to build. And that's just, so that's for the people that want to do it. Don't quit your job though, because that's a very bad advice that I've heard a lot. But do it as something on the side and get started. And as soon as you see traction, and as soon as you see that it's something that can actually generate revenue, maybe yes, quit your job, but don't quit your job. So that's my second advice. And then the third advice is if you're building a product, don't be married to your product. You have to be married to the problem you're solving, and that's very important. So I've seen it, and I've done it, where you're trying to make your product perfect, and you don't want to get it in the hand of people because it's not good enough. No, you have to start with the distribution. You have to make sure that you're building and you're solving a problem that actually exists. So don't spend too much money building something. Try to figure out if you're solving a real problem.
Boom. I love all of those pieces of advice, especially because you called out advice that is given way too freely on podcasts, but maybe is not the best advice. Don't quit your job too early. I love that caveat there, because not quitting your job too early, having that financial foundation at least, allows you to not be married to things, allows you to experiment. And so I love the fact that all of those things tie in so well to our conversation. But Anissa, I will confess to you here on the air that my biggest complaint about podcasting is that it's not a visual format. People can hear us talk about your business, but I'm excited for them to actually see your business. So you owe us some links. I'm very excited for listeners to check out hearing the thought process behind the way that you've built Lingo Circle. When people land on your website, they're going to see how much all of these strategic elements you've shared with us today actually play into the execution of how you operate, how you serve so many families and children across the United States and beyond. So drop those links on us for listeners who want to see your stuff in action. Where should they go from here?
www.lingocircle.com. So everything is on the website, and I am on social media. So of course Instagram, TikTok. So that's Anissa Bouderraoui. There's also the Lingo Circle social media channel, but I do a lot personally as a founder, and on LinkedIn.
Yes, and listeners, you already know the drill. We're making it as easy as possible for you to find all those links down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. If you want to see this stuff in action, and especially if you've got a kid who's young and you want to see them step into your family's heritage, your family's culture, and start embracing those language learning skills that are so valuable, not just in youth, but in adulthood, then there's also a free trial. So go check out LingoCircle.com. You don't have to remember any of the links. We're dropping them all down below in the show notes. Otherwise, Anissa, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me.